Welcome to another episode of Three-Peat After Me as we head into the All-Star break here in the Carolina League schedule. We'll talk to another 2024 RiverDogs outfielder, Noah Meyers, whose return to the roster has been big as the team has gone on one of its longest winning streaks in the last couple of years. We'll talk to him about his journey to this point that took him through independent baseball, and the best part, we'll share some dad jokes at the end. Well, Noah, thanks so much for stopping by to repeat after me, the RiverDogs podcast today. Obviously, this has been a fun time of year for the RiverDogs. You guys have been kind of waiting to have things go your way and start to stack together. It kind of coincides with you coming back from a little bit of time on the injured list. So what's it been like returning to this clubhouse when it feels like it's at its best right now?
Yeah, I mean, 8 straight. It's not easy to do regardless who you're playing with, who you're playing against. So it's super exciting to come back and win a bunch of ball games, and obviously the vibes are good in the locker room right now, using the energy that the pitchers are giving us and what the hitters have been able to do. So trying to just keep rolling with that.
After the first half went the way it did, how nice is it to have a reset in minor league baseball where, in college you don't get that, in high school you don't get that, in the big leagues you don't get that, to start back over from scratch and try to build? Like, how nice was that as a reset midway through the year?
Yeah, I know kind of the way the first half went didn't go the way we wanted it to. I think dealing with failures like that can obviously help you, though. We knew what we needed to work on and what we needed to get better with. So kind of having that fresh start gave us that chance, and hopefully just keep feeding off of what we've been doing and use that throughout the second half.
You guys didn't really lose confidence at all. And it was the same way last year. Last year's team was dead last in the Carolina League as a whole at the halfway point. They go on to win a championship, but they all said, we know that there's enough talent here. We've seen it in spring training. We've seen it in workouts. We've seen it throughout flashes of games that eventually we're going to put it together. Do you guys have the same feeling right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've seen it in the first half, too, where we've had games where we showed what we can do, and why can't we do this more consistently? And I think now we're kind of starting to put that all together and be able to show that more on a daily basis.
What can you say about the pitching staff of this year's team? The starters have been incredible. I mean, after 6 or 7 innings every night, you guys are winning, or it's a 1 or 2 run game. How nice is that? How much of a luxury is it as an offense to know that, even if it takes a little bit of time to get a read on a pitcher or to break through, that you're going to be right there?
Yeah, it's awesome to play behind, and it's exciting going into a game knowing every guy that you're throwing out there, starters, bullpen guys, that they're going to give you a really good chance to win every single night.
You guys are on pace to destroy the franchise record in stolen bases. Currently 255. 1997 was the year they did that. That's a long time ago. I was young at that point. But you're also close to going over 300 if you stay on the current pace, something that looks really likely. Not many teams in minor league history have done that. Why is it so important to have a lineup that can do that from basically every spot 1 through 9?
Yeah, I think with our lineup, we don't have a whole lot of home run hitters. So finding ways to turn singles and walks into doubles, into triples, getting extra 90s, and it makes offense a lot easier when you have a guy on third instead of second, a ground ball scores him instead of getting an extra hit. So I think finding different ways to score runs is huge for us.
If you get on base with a single or a walk, how quickly are you itching to get away from first base and try and go to second as long as everything lines up?
Yeah, I'm looking at Ronnie, and he's giving me a time, and it's basically 1 or 2 second conversation. He's like, get on first. He's like, you're good. Take it. So it's pretty quick. It's just get on and get moving.
The last game against Myrtle Beach here in our first meeting of the second half, 13 for 13 in stolen bases. Have you ever been a part of something like that, a display like that on the base pass?
I don't think so. It was pretty wild just watching. Basically, as soon as the guy got on, you're like, well, he's gone. He's on second base. He's on third. So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool to watch that.
Now, I've heard, I don't know if this is true. I feel like other people in the clubhouse have told me you like to talk on the field. Is that true? Or are you a polite guy out there?
I like to consider myself pretty polite.
Oh, it's a polite talk?
Yeah.
Somebody said you talk a lot of trash.
I mean,
or is that more to your teammates?
Yeah, I mean, in college, I guess people would call me the instigator. I like to stir the pot a little bit.
Not anymore, though? You're saying no longer?
I think I toned it down maybe a little bit.
Just a little?
Yeah.
So you haven't
who you ask,
let anybody know?
I mean, depends who you ask.
Oh, who do I need to ask?
I mean, that's for you to find
out,
I guess.
Great. Okay, fair enough. The second half has been a trend for the RiverDogs to make their run toward a championship the last 2 years. They missed out in the first half, got it done in the second half. Everybody knows anywhere you go in this ballpark, you're reminded that there's been a bunch of championships here in a row. Can't think about it every day, but how cool would it be to make a run here in the second half and give yourself an opportunity?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's in everyone's minds. Everyone knows that it's been done, and I think for us, like, yeah, we had a slow first half, and I think getting hot at the right time is an important thing. So if you can use that in the second half and kind of just keep rolling with it, and just if you can get into the playoffs and go on a run, then it gives you your best chance.
And nobody wants to be injured at any point in a year, but did that give you maybe a break physically? Not that you wanted it again, but to come back feeling a little bit more fresh?
I mean, yeah, I guess takes you away from your routines a little bit, which kind of sets you back. But at the same time, going back to Florida and kind of getting a fresh start, working on a couple things that I felt I needed to work on. So, yeah, I guess it gave me that fresh start and come back ready to go.
Yeah, and you've come back swinging the bat really well, playing good defense in the outfield. Do you really not want the All-Star break to come? 4 days off here in a little bit. Is it something where you're like, I just got back, let's keep playing?
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice just kind of when you feel good, just keep rolling. But at the same time, too, you take your breaks when you can get them and stay as fresh as you can.
As a baseball player that's so used to doing something every day, you get Mondays off. That's kind of the schedule. To get 4 off days in a row or 4 days away from playing games, how tough is it to make sure that you kind of keep yourself ready, though, for when you come back, knowing that there's some important games after that?
Yeah, you got to do everything you can, whether it's getting in the cages, getting your lifts in, and just staying mentally checked in. So as soon as you come back, like, you can just jump right back into it and keep rolling.
All right, let's go rewind back to a young Noah Meyers north of the border in Canada. What was your first introduction to baseball, and was it your first love athletically?
No, it definitely wasn't. Growing up in Canada, played hockey. That's just what everyone did. Played hockey till I was about 10 or 11 years old and had some concussion issues. Switched over to baseball when I was 11 or 12. It was kind of an afterthought. My dad pulled me from school one day. He's like, "You're going to a baseball tryout." I'm like, "What are you talking? I'm not playing baseball. I'm playing hockey." And he's like, "Well, the doctor said you're not." So basically threw me into baseball when I was 11 or 12. And then as I started playing, I was like, well, I guess I kind of like this game, and grew from there. So fell in love with it after that.
And you played some pretty high-level hockey. You played with a lot of really good hockey players. I know that, going back to the part about you not talking too much, I can say you talk a lot. And most of that is directed at me sometimes before a game, so I feel like I'm qualified to say that. But you've had some opportunities to play hockey with some really good players. What was that experience like, doing what is basically the national sport of Canada?
Yeah, it was cool. It's just like growing up, I was probably on skates when I was about 3 years old. As soon as you can get them on your feet, you start playing. And being at that young age and playing at a high level of hockey, like, you play against guys and at like 9, 10 years old, and you're like, this guy's just different. And then, I mean, you look now and they're...
Were you one of those guys?
I was good, but I don't know what level I would have made it to. So, it's going to be up in the air forever, so...
And you hadn't played baseball at all before that 10, 11 range, or you had played a little bit?
Playing wiffle ball with buddies like in backyards and all that, but no, nothing organized.
And so at what point in baseball did you realize that maybe you did that a little bit better than some of the guys around you, where maybe you looked at hockey players and you were like, okay, that guy's a little bit different, that maybe you started to evolve it and take yourself to that level where you were kind of better than the guys you were playing with?
I transitioned to an organization about an hour from where I lived, and it was kind of everyone from different centers. And I guess around 15, 16, started to realize that I might have a chance to go play college ball, and kind of went from there. And as I moved up, got a little bigger and stronger, then kind of realized that maybe I have a chance to go somewhere with this.
I always, growing up in Wisconsin, it was always a tough time to play baseball year-round. You had to go find a gym or something like that. Did you run into the same kind of situation where it was tough to play baseball year-round, where kids in California and Florida are able to do that?
Getting outside in the cold months, definitely. The team that I played with, we were super lucky. We had a huge indoor, like 2 full infields and a whole bunch of cages, weight room. So we were able to, I guess, as an outfielder, not get your fly balls in, but everything else that you can do, we were able to do it inside. So,
when did you decide to start your college career in the States? And take me through that process of coming to the United States to start your collegiate baseball career.
That was always the goal. If you want to go anywhere with baseball, then you have to get outside of Canada. I guess when I was about 16, we were doing fall trips, going to play different schools in the States, and started talking to a few junior colleges. That was kind of my only options. Committed to Wabash Valley in Illinois and spent 2 years there. So it was awesome experience, but terrible experience just from, you think it's like there's some long days here, then those days are crazy. It's a good thing we didn't have lights. Otherwise we would have practiced probably all day, all night, but it was probably the best experience of my life for finding more love for the game, getting so many opportunities just to play at bats and grow as a player. From there, had some traction, committed to South Carolina, spent a couple of years there, kind of with COVID and a small injury. Grad transferred to South Carolina Upstate, spent a year there. After that, didn't get signed or drafted. Went to play independent ball in Evansville, Indiana, and then good year there and got signed here.
So the trip to South Carolina, it turns out this is like your second home now. You start your professional career here as well. But going from junior college baseball to the SEC, was that sort of another step up? I'm sure going to college in the States was a slight step up, but then you're in the SEC. What was that like to experience firsthand?
Yeah, I mean, going from junior college where there was 500 people on campus in a town smaller than the one I grew up, and then jumping to the SEC where a packed house, you got 8,000, 9,000 people on the weekend. It was definitely a big jump, but it was something you kind of always dream of, so that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah, South Carolina is not a lot like Canada or Illinois, though, is it?
No,
Did you have to adjust to the heat and humidity a little bit? It's not as bad in the spring, but was that a bit of an adjustment as well?
Yeah, definitely. Kind of what we're in right now out here,
Yeah.
it's you just, as soon as you go outside, just expect to sweat. And I mean, summers get hot back home, but I think it's a little different here.
What was that last year, the last stop in your college career like at Upstate? Was that a good move in your mind as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I knew that coaching staff, they had recruited me to a different school before, and I really liked everything they did and kind of the way they coached. And when I went there, it was great. The hitting coach worked with him a lot, kind of got away from my game a little bit. Going there kind of gave me a little bit of a reset and kind of sent me back onto my track.
What would you consider to be your game?
As a hitter, kind of just using the whole field, being able to work it around, get into the odd ball, use my legs a lot, kind of just trying to do as much as I can. So, I mean, just get on base, score a lot of runs, steal a lot of bags.
You obviously didn't get drafted, like you said, but were you convinced you could play professional baseball? And when did that mindset set in that, like, no matter what it takes, I'm going to find a way to continue doing this?
Yeah, absolutely. I did get drafted at junior college, turned it down, and I always knew that was my goal, to get back there. There was some setbacks and failures, some successes, and when I didn't get picked up my last year, it was, okay, we need to go find a different route, and we need to get there, but it's just going to take longer.
I started my career in independent baseball in the American Association. There's the Frontier League. There's the Atlantic League. There's a couple of other smaller leagues as well. What was the process like after the draft? You weren't signed as an undrafted free agent right away, trying to find a home to continue playing baseball, and how did you end up in Evansville?
So the junior college I went to, the head coach that was there, the hitting coach in Evansville, where I went, he had coached there previously.
Okay.
So there was a little bit of a connection there. They had reached out and asked me if I wanted to come play there. So spent the off season back home just working out, hitting, and then went there for their short spring training and kind of just rolled into the year and had to earn a spot. It was the same thing. So go in there, try and get my feet wet, and ended up being an awesome opportunity.
And I think the cool thing about independent baseball is, number one, as opposed to maybe affiliated ball, they're trying to win. They're making trades. They're signing guys. If you don't perform, you're not going to be there, and you don't know how long you have. So going into that environment, also there's guys who haven't played professional baseball. There's guys who have for a lot of years in minor league baseball. There's former big leaguers who are trying to get back. Is that sort of an eye-opening experience when you walk in and you see guys of all different ages? The Frontier League is a league that's a little bit younger, but just a different atmosphere than college, certainly.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of going from the older guy on my college team as a fifth year, going to independent ball. I was the youngest guy on my team last year, and you're seeing so many moving parts. Like we had our roster starting for opening day, and then you'd have a guy there for a week. He doesn't perform in a week, and it's like, hey, you're gone. Bring in another guy. So it's a lot of moving parts, and travel is pretty crazy. You're traveling 10, 20 hours on a bus just to get to your 3-game set the next day, and So I mean, it's definitely a grind, but I mean, looking at what it was, that was the best opportunity for me, and I knew if I put my best foot forward, then it gives me a good opportunity.
And being the youngest guy there, did you have an opportunity to maybe learn how guys who have been in affiliated ball or Major League Baseball in that case, of a few of those guys, how they prepare, and can you take something from that you use now?
Oh, absolutely. I'd say most of our position guys had played affiliate ball before. So, I mean, just kind of going through, talking with them, seeing how their routines worked, how everything worked for them. And, I mean, you can take a lot from them just on a day-to-day basis, how they prepare and kind of basing it off of that and learning from them, kind of following them and seeing how they do things. So I think it was definitely a big help for that.
The other thing I loved about independent baseball was there's some, really good organizations, and there's some places where you're like, what's going on here? And you'll see things you've never seen before. Did you see anything really crazy on the road or something that probably wouldn't work in affiliated baseball? I'll give you an example.
Yeah,
when I was in independent baseball, we went to Laredo, Texas, and at one point in the year, they lost their liquor license. And so they just told people, bring your own booze to the games. And I'm like, wait a second, that's not a great idea. But sure enough, people just walked in with bottles of whatever they wanted. And I was like, nowadays, that wouldn't quite work.
Yeah. I don't know if I saw anything too crazy. Nothing along those lines. I know you'd have people. There wasn't any clear bag policies by any means. So I think there were some times where people would just be probably carrying around their own bottles. It wasn't BYOB by any means, but they did it anyways. But
you go on to win the Rookie of the Year award in the Frontier League. How big was that for your confidence just as a professional baseball player that things were heading in the right direction for you?
Yeah, it was definitely super cool to hear. We got on the bus after a game. Our coach announced it. I think it was right before the playoffs started. And I mean, it was definitely a really cool accolade to get. And I mean, kind of going into that too, it was cool to get it. And then we had the playoffs. So it's like, we need to keep moving and try and win this next series. So it was definitely cool though.
I believe that you said you played in Quebec in the playoffs. Was that correct?
Yeah.
And that was a place that I think is still one of the coolest places I've been to call a baseball game. You're from Canada, but you said you hadn't been to Quebec. It's basically like France inside of Canada, a lot of French, not a lot of English being spoken there. But what was that experience like playing in that ballpark?
Yeah, it was super cool. We got to go there for a weekend series earlier in the year. Going there, all the guys that hadn't been to Canada, dang, this is what Canada's like? And I'm like, no. I was like, this is not like anything I've seen. This is definitely more European. But it was cool to go there first time. And then going back for the playoffs, they packed the place out. And I remember walking up, leading off the game, and first game of the finals, and I just hear people like just trying to get in there. You're yelling my name, and every time I took a strike, swung through something, like they made sure I heard it. So, but it was awesome, like cool experience to have that and all the fan interactions.
I would imagine that one of the toughest things for an independent team that has another team that they play in Canada is getting everyone across the border. I'm guessing that was pretty easy for you. You weren't, struggling with anything to go back home.
Yeah, I just pulled out the passport and we were good to
Everybody
go.
else, you never know. Yeah,
I think we had to leave.
Check the bus.
Had to leave 3 or 4 guys back that had little issues with some border stuff, but it's independent ball for you.
So at that point, you're obviously thinking, okay, hopefully this transitions to get me into a major league organization somehow. What was that process like, and when did you start to get some movement and then end up here with the Rays?
So the season ended, I think it was around middle of September, and went home after that. Was working at a gym, just trying to stay ready. Didn't know what the next step was really. I got an email from the Rays, and it just kind of asked what my off-season plan was, what I've been doing, and I want to say that was sometime around October, maybe November, whatever it was, and didn't hear anything again after that. And then it was about a week before Christmas, phone rings. I'm just having lunch in like their staff room, and it was this guy with the Rays, and basically just said, "Hey, do you want to sign with the Rays?" And I was like, "Yeah, definitely." I was like,
didn't have to think about that one.
Yeah, so I was like, "Have you ever had anyone say no to a question like that?"
So it's just an email. That's how it starts. Like literally, an email pops up, and hey, what's going on?
Yeah, he's like, "Hey, just reaching out. Want to know like what you've been doing, how you've been just kind of staying ready." And email back. Just got like a thank you email, and then after that, about 2 months later, got a call, and it was like, "Hey."
Is that one of those things where you send the email you don't hear back that you just check every day to make sure it went through? Like, did I really send this email? Refresh the inbox a couple times?
Yeah, pretty much. I was like, make sure it went through. I was like, am I going to get a follow-up, or am I going to be working at this gym for 30 years?
Yeah, so then obviously you're getting ready to report to spring training when that comes. What was your thought process before you're going to start your first year in affiliated baseball? Like, did you know what to expect? Did you have anybody you could bounce off of to find out what it was going to be like when you got to camp?
A little bit, but I know every organization's different. So I talked to quite a few of my friends that had played affiliated ball before or were still in it, and they just kind of gave me a rundown of how it went for them. I came to the early camp in January, so that was super nice to be able to kind of come in with small groups and see how everything went, check everything out. And so then when full camp got into swing, then I was able to kind of know where I'm going and not just running around. So that was helpful.
Yeah, I would imagine the most imposing thing is just figuring out, one, where everything is, and then two, meeting all these people. Because when spring training starts, if you've never been there are people everywhere, and they're all wearing the same thing.
Yeah.
They're all wearing a Rays jersey and gray pants, and they have their name on the back. But how much of a process is it to try and get comfortable and know everybody?
Yeah, that was kind of the biggest thing, too. It's like you want to know who the people are that are going to be the main help for you, like who am I going to be working with, and then just getting to know everyone. It's just like, hey, shake your hand, say your name. So I remember when I see you tomorrow, because I'm going to be seeing 40 other people today, and I remember my first day, I met like about 15, 20 people. I'm like, I'm going to have to see these people again this week. Let's try and remember names. But it was good after about a week. You kind of start to see people and get to know who they are.
Was there anybody that you became pretty quick friends with right away that kind of helped that transition to joining the Rays that you were buddies with and kind of went through the process with?
I talked to like Ryan Cermak. He was there for the early camp, so he was right across the locker room from me, so I kind of talked with him, and I was like, hey, dude, where am I going here? And point me in the right direction, and ended up living with him for spring training, so it was good.
Is there sort of a feeling of, okay, I wasn't drafted here, I wasn't signed as an international free agent, I was just signed recently, I have to come in and prove myself? Did you put any extra pressure on yourself in spring training to try and make your mark and make sure they knew you belonged there?
I think I had about a 19-hour drive to get there, so that stuff was going through my head on the way, and it's like, all right, like I got to prove myself. And then once you get there and you're talking to the staff, and they're like, hey, like, you're here now. You don't have to do anything crazy. It's just like we drafted you we signed you based off of what you did last year and the player you are, so just do that. So it was definitely nice to hear that and kind of let you ease up a little bit and just be who you are instead of trying to do more.
When did you find out? Is it true that when they assign people to affiliates, it's kind of like in the movies when you see they're waiting to find out who made varsity, who made JV, who made the school musical? Like, it's just a sheet of paper and it tells you where you're going, or how did you find out you were coming here?
Yeah, it was the last day of spring training. We played at the Braves place, and then I think we got done, and I don't remember if it was just a piece of paper when we got back, or if it was just we got a message or whatever, and you just scroll through the list, and you're like, I'm on there. I hope I'm on there.
What were your thoughts when you saw you were on there and then that you were heading to Charleston?
I was excited, and it was like basically you're on there, pack up, you got to leave the next day. So I was definitely excited to be in Charleston. There's not a better place to play, so it was pretty cool after everything you hear from people saying what they've said about Charleston, the fans, the city, and once you get here, it's like, yeah, it's a cool spot to be.
And had you played at the Joe before? I know the South Carolina comes down here pretty much every year, upstate occasionally, but had you been to the Joe before?
Yeah, we played the Citadel in 2021, so we got to come here to play.
So you kind of knew, okay, here's what the ballpark generally looks like. You've been in it in the other clubhouse, or maybe not even in the clubhouse, but just in the other dugout. But opening night, I think everybody that comes here for the first time to play as a member of the RiverDogs or as the visiting team, when you come out on opening night at the Joe, it's kind of eye-opening. What was that experience like for you, starting to stretch and then getting ready for first pitch?
Yeah, it was cool. When you get here and the place is packed out, and I mean, there's no better feeling than playing in front of a full crowd. It was when I was at South Carolina, it was kind of the same thing. They draw a huge crowd too, and it's mostly South Carolina fans. But I mean, it's a midweek game compared to like an opening day game is definitely very different in how the crowd is. So yeah, it was an awesome feeling.
One of the better defensive plays of the year, you robbed the home run here in right field. Can you kind of take me through that play and the process of seeing the ball knowing it's going to be close to the wall and then deciding when to jump it and what you remember from that specific home run robbery.
Yeah, I hadn't been able to do on a true robbery like that, I don't think, in my career. So it was pretty cool. Like the one time where you're on defense, it helps when the wind's blowing in. But the guy hit the ball, and I was just running back, and I was kind of watching it, looking at the wall, and I'm like, it looks like it's going to be pretty close. Like, we get back here, and then I just kind of got to my spot and jumped and watched it go in my glove. And as I'm coming down, I was like, wow, it's in my glove. I was like, that's pretty cool.
How many times have you watched the replay of it?
I watched the post on the RiverDogs put on there, and I was like, that's pretty cool. I was like, I don't know if I'll be able to do that again, but pretty
You
cool
set the
feeling.
bar pretty high.
Yeah, I was
early in the year. People are expecting that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
This season, we talked about the injury, but how excited are you for the final couple of months here to make a stretch run and to continue playing good baseball?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're kind of setting the bar where we want to have it now. It's like, got to win, got to play good baseball, and I think having the confidence now early in the second half, that's kind of going to fuel us so we know the type of baseball we have to play, and you got to keep your foot on the gas to get to where we want to be.
I'm not going to put you on the spot here. You don't have to be 100% polite to them, but let's talk about the coaching staff a little bit. It might suit you well to be kind of nice, but Sean Smedley, as the manager, last year he took a team that was in last place to the ultimate goal, winning a championship, and he's trying to do the same thing this year. What is it about him as a manager? To me, it seems like he's kind of the same person day to day, no matter what happens, and a guy that you can talk to about what you need to get the job done. What are your impressions of him, and what have you enjoyed about playing for him?
Yeah, I love playing for Smed. I think he's a great coach in the sense that he's not gonna blow up on something. If you are winning in a game, you do something dumb, you blow the lead, he's gonna be the same guy, like he said. But at the same time, if you do something that needs to be addressed, he's going to make sure that everything stays in line. And he wants a team on the field that's going to work for everything. He wants to win, but at the end of the day, it's all about getting better as a group. So, I mean, I think he's a great guy to play for overall, and just kind of the way he goes about his business is super professional.
And you talked about bench coach Ronnie Richardson, who also coaches first and is big with the stolen bases that you guys have been able to achieve. He's been working with a lot of guys playing in the outfield this year. Obviously, You are an outfielder by trade. There's been guys who haven't played out there for a while. There's guys who have but are a little bit raw. The guys that bounce back and forth. What kind of a job has he done? What's it been working with Ronnie?
Yeah, working with Ronnie's been great. I mean, defensively coming into the year, I thought he was a good outfielder, but I think working with him, working with the coordinators and the other coaches when I was in Florida, I've really upped my game, kind of working on small things. And if he sees something, he'll bring me in, show me a video, be like, hey, we need to do this. So that day we'll go work on that. And it's just finding little things that need to be worked on and addressing it right away. And I think he does a great job at that. And then like on the bases, I think he's one of the main reasons why we do have so many bags. And he gives you the confidence, like you get to first and he'll be like, okay, let's go, let's do it. And it's like, okay, now I don't have to think. It's like I'm getting my lead and I'm going.
And then the hitting coach for the RiverDogs is the one new person on this staff as far as the field coach is Brett Schneider. And he was kind of in a similar spot during spring training, coming from a different organization. He was with Seattle. But he seems like he's fit in really nicely with the coaching staff. And you've seen guys improve from April until now. What's it been like working with Brett?
Yeah, I think working with Brett, for me too, like kind of a little bit of a slower start than I wanted to. And I feel something or he sees something and I can talk to him. I give him my input. He's not just going to be like, okay, we need to do this. He's going to talk to you, see how you feel about it, and kind of give you ways to kind of work on it or kind of work with you just talking through it, because a lot of times hitting, it's not mechanical. It's going to be mental, or it's going to be just something you're doing that's throwing you off that has nothing to do with your swing, and it's kind of him not trying to do too much with it and just staying with the player that you are and making you the best version of yourself.
He talked to us on the way down here. Is there anything you want to say about Johnny Horaz, or do you just want to...
Yeah, absolutely.
You can go either direction with this.
Shout out Johnny. Johnny's the man. And he's taking me on a little fishing charter on Monday. We're going with a little group, so huge shout out. And he's the man in the locker room.
So you guys don't try to avoid him on off days?
No.
Wow. That was the no, I'm just kidding.
So now you're throwing him under the bus.
Well, that's what we do back and forth. A couple of lighthearted questions before we get to some dad jokes that I've prepared for you. Which I know you're really excited about.
Absolutely, yeah.
First of all, this is going back to Kannapolis earlier this year. If I get a guitar, you said you'll play it. in the stadium. Is that correct?
Yeah. When did you say that? That was
April.
yeah. We're in.
Right. And acquiring a guitar is not an easy thing to do, but you will learn how to play it. Are you going to say this on camera? Will you play it in the Joe?
Yeah. From April to July, I've been saying it now, so I don't know if it's ever going to happen. But I was down in Florida for 2 weeks and had quite a bit of downtime. Could have learned a lot there, but we're still here from the chat from April, and now we're in the middle of July.
You
so
still haven't answered the question.
The answer is yes.
Guitar, you will play it at the Joe.
Same answer since April, yes.
All right, perfect. Hey, we get it. It was April. What is the worst stereotype that you get as somebody from Canada that people just do not understand here in America?
Worst?
Or the thing that's like, why do they keep asking me this?
I mean, the weather is kind of a basic one, but...
Like they seem it's the frozen tundra year-round?
Yeah. I would say that's probably the most common.
I know the other day you were trying to convince people that Canadian Christmas was in November.
Well, yeah, I kind of brought it up, and you didn't think I could talk someone out of it.
Yeah, well, you asked Wu Shin, who is
he was
not American,
he was right
so
in front of me. He was right in front of me.
But you didn't fool anyone, is the moral of the story. And can you explain Boxing Day to everyone?
Yeah,
it's a big holiday for Canada.
It's not a big holiday. It's Boxing Day is where you put all your Christmas stuff away, and it's a drinking holiday for the most part.
But what day is it?
December 26th.
So it's the day after Christmas.
Yeah.
And you just put away everything you got the day before.
Are you answering it or am I?
I'm asking. There was a question mark at the end.
Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be like boxing up your Christmas stuff. So
one day after you received it.
I didn't make the holiday.
But do you celebrate it?
Not really.
Like if you go into a Canadian household, I had to explain to you what tree hopping is in America.
Yeah.
Where we go around and look at what everybody got for Christmas.
Sure.
Like if you go into a Canadian house on December 26th, the day after Christmas, there's nothing there.
No, everything's still there.
So what happens on Boxing Day?
I mean, it's like our Black Friday, I guess.
So there's discounts.
Yeah, if you go to the mall, there's going to be a lot of good sales.
So first you told me it involves boxing up gifts.
That's
now
the name
you're
of
saying
it.
you're buying more gifts?
You're not boxing up gifts. You're boxing up, if you have a fake tree, your ornaments, you're putting those things away.
The day after Christmas.
I mean, in the past, yeah, I have one of my friends, his family, it's like December 26th, you drive by his house, the tree's at the road, stuff's away.
Like it's done.
Done.
But that was not your household, though. So you did not follow that holiday.
No, it's either you just lay around or you go see if there's some good sales, but that's about it.
Fair enough. I'll believe you. I still don't understand, but I'm working my way toward it. Tell me about your walk-up song this year. I know you were pretty proud of your selection. What is it, and how did you come up with that idea?
Yeah, I heard it on a bar song by Shabuzi. I heard it on whatever social I heard, and I was like, that'd be a cool one to play. I think the fans might like it, so I think it has a decent little rhythm to it, good sound, so went for it.
I told you this the day you came back from the injured list. I drove to Augusta, and as I pulled into the stadium, that song came on the radio, and I'm like, Noah Meyers is back. That was kind of scary. What has been your walk-up song before? Do you change it every year? Have you had one that you used for a long time?
No, I change it every year. I think last year I used it's called 23 by Chase Beckham. It was kind of a country song, and before that I've used Rich Girl, Come and Get Your Love, Redbone. I've used Could You Be Loved by Bob Marley.
Oh, so you have a very large mix of...
Hear something, if it sounds good, just roll with it.
Do you hear it?
Yeah.
When you're walking to home plate?
Yeah, absolutely.
Every time?
Yeah.
All right. Do you think most guys do?
I don't know.
I think they do, actually, because if it doesn't play right, they let me know immediately after the game. I think that was maybe a different song, or it wasn't quite... I'm like, all right, let's settle down. Maybe think about your at-bat a little bit more.
I usually, if I'm walking up, it's like that's when I start. Like I have a little routine I do walking up to the plate. So like once it starts, then I start my routine and walk up. Unless
you do the same thing every time.
Yeah.
You want to let us in on what exactly that is, or is it?
Yeah, sure.
What is the routine? Like you hear a certain note in the song and you start.
No, it's not based off that. More so, just if the clock allows it. But if the clock's running down, then I got to go. But
what do you do?
Undo my batting gloves. Usually start with the left one, right one. Spit on them. Kind of rub it in. Walk up to the plate. Put my foot in the box. Look at the label on my bat. Take a deep breath. And I'm centered, ready to go.
Do you always give the catcher and the umpire a little shin guard tap in your first at bat?
I'm not a shin guard tap guy.
You don't do that? Do you do anything? Like a little head nod?
Yeah, I just kind of say, how we doing today?
Angel Galarraga, who was a catcher for us last year, he shin guard tap the catcher and the umpire before every at bat. He's the nicest human being I think I've ever met. But he says hello to them before all 4 at bats in a game. And you're saying you can't even be bothered to do one tap.
I'll talk to him, but not a tap guy. Just
okay.
How we doing? And I'll worry about my at bat. So
all right. Who on the RiverDogs pitching staff would you like to face one-on-one for all the marbles, like for pride? If you had a bet on pride, who's one guy you want to see?
Like what's the bet gonna be? Like I need something at stake.
Loser has to play the Keytar national anthem before the game the next night.
Give me Nichols.
You want Nichols?
Yeah.
He's often picked on this podcast. Adrian Santana wanted a piece of Nichols. Okay. Any specific reason?
Oh, he's beside me in the locker room now, so
it's easy to do that. Yeah. Who's one of the funnier guys on the team, like that you think is pretty hilarious?
I'm gonna go with Boucher.
Adam Boucher.
Yeah, he's a sleeper. If you haven't talked to him much, then
why is he a sleeper? Do you say he doesn't look funny?
No, he does. He does look funny, but not in that sense. But he's a funny guy. Like I feel like if you just see him, he looks like he's just about his business. But hey, we send some good jokes back and forth on like Instagram and all that. Some good dad jokes too. I'll have to get you in on them.
I need you to help me keep him accountable because he's told me that he is going to grow. He's got the mustache right now.
I was there for the combo.
You've been there. He told me he's growing the mustache, Fu Manchu, all the way down his neck. And he told me he's going to do it after his girlfriend leaves town. Then he said, well, she's coming again, so we pushed it back. But he guaranteed me that for the rest of the year, starting with the All-Star break, he's growing it. Do you think that as a hitter, if you saw that,
I'm done.
Is that a little bit
I'm out.
Nerve-wracking?
Oh, I'm out before I even get in the box if I see that.
So Carolina League hitters, beware. Adam Boucher. I think I'm going to call it the walrus.
Yeah.
Like if you think about the tusks of a walrus, I think that's what he's going to look like. Who's your roommate on the road?
Brecker.
How's
Brian.
that?
It's good.
What do you think of him as an outfielder all of a sudden?
I like it. He's just, if he can play there, he's tried. I think he's working on a little bit of first base. He's a great catcher, so versatile.
Is he funny, though?
Yeah, he's a funny guy. I like messing with him, too.
Not that funny.
What do you think?
Well, you picked Boucher. You didn't bring up Brian Brecker at all.
We asked for one guy.
Yeah, that's fair. What do you think of the work that Breck has done behind the plate this year? I mean, if somebody runs against him, I always feel like good luck. I don't know why you're doing that, but would he be a tough guy to steal base against for you?
Yeah, definitely. I think, I mean, I don't know what the percentage is on throwing out runners, but it seems like every time a guy goes and he's back there that I got a lot of confidence that guy's probably not going to be safe.
What is your favorite park on the road so far this year?
Probably Fayetteville. Fayetteville was cool. I think more so for the fan interactions. I had a lot of people there and right that there were some good
talking
chirps.
to you a little bit.
Yeah. So maybe if you ask those guys, they might say that I have to talk. But
that's the. Did you start it or did they?
They did.
Yeah, you're not going to go into the crowd. So is that the place where they have the guy right by the dugout too that yells in an incredibly loud voice during every at bat?
Yeah.
He's the RiverDogs didn't play well the first time, so hopefully when we go there after the All-Star break, you have a little bit more to say in response to him. That would be nice. Who is somebody with the Rays that you've seen either in spring training or right now as your time with the RiverDogs that they have a skill that you're like, man, I wish I could do that?
Baseball skill or like off field?
Well, you can take that either way. I was talking baseball, but if you have an off the field skill, that's
I guess we'll
better.
stay baseball. I mean, obviously a guy like Chandler Simpson be able to run like that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, it would be really easy I feel like to steal bases.
Yeah,
certainly.
Yeah, that's something.
The way he does it. What about off the field? Now that you brought it up.
I don't know. That's why I was thinking. Now I don't know. Off the field though, maybe I'll say woo with his guitar, but he doesn't really play very well, so I don't know.
Right, that's what I've heard. I've heard that, that nobody really plays it very well. So it's just kind of been there?
Yeah, it's just there. It's sitting in the locker next to me now. It's pretty much been there. So,
if you guys haven't done this, but if the bench is ever cleared, who's one guy with the RiverDogs right now you would not want to be anywhere near if you were in the other dugout? Like, who are you not messing with?
That's a tough one.
I don't think it is.
You got a guy lined up?
Yeah, it's always been Raul Davies Martinez.
Oh, yeah, actually, that is true. I feel like
is that your answer?
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that one.
All right. What's the draft is coming up in about a week here. It's hard to believe that, guys are going to be starting their professional career. Every year there's a few of those guys that come in. Are you going to, when those guys get here, just try and kind of help people out like you got help when you first showed up with the Rays as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think the one thing that's super important is just like enjoying it. Like there's so much pressure when you get here, right? It's like you put it on yourself you have to perform, you have to do this, you have to do this. My batting average is low, and it's like you have to enjoy. If you're not enjoying it and having fun with it, then I feel like it's going to be really hard to give yourself a good chance to succeed.
And you guys seem to have a ton of fun, even when things weren't going the way you wanted to in the win-loss column. But how much fun is this group having right now?
Oh, a ton of fun. I think you kind of see if you watch in the dugout or like pregame and all that. We're always messing around, always having fun. I think like keeping it light is giving you a chance, like have a bat at bat, but you got guys that are just going to pick you up. So it keeps everything light and keeps you ready to go.
Speaking of keeping it light, we'll wrap up here with some dad jokes if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
I do have a couple of Canadian ones first that I memorized. But what is a Canadian's favorite letter? A.
A.
The first time I met you, I heard you were from Canada, and I was like, is he like a real Canadian, And I shook your hand, and you said, small world, eh? And I'm like, yes, this guy is really from Canada. What is a Canadian ghost's favorite snack?
What?
Poutine.
Poutine.
What is poutine? I haven't had it, but it's like cheese, tater tots?
No.
Fries.
Yeah,
Sorry.
come on.
Fries. Like just run me through the ingredients.
Yeah,
and is it a top of the line dish for you?
No, it's good, but I'm not going to be like, as soon as I go home, I'm like, I have to have it.
Okay, but
it's
what is it again?
So it's like fries, cheese curds, and then brown gravy.
Yeah, you're talking to me with the cheese curds. I think, I don't know why I haven't eaten it yet, but it should be there.
Yeah.
So yeah, poutine. Get it?
Yeah, I get it. That was good.
All right. What's the difference between a camera and a foot?
What?
A camera has photos, and a foot has 5 toes. It's pretty good. My wife got me this dad joke a day calendar for Christmas, and I've been killing in the office.
You just rip them all off, or are these like saved?
Well, this is July 5th, so I got to rip it off, and then I have today's here. I got into a fight with 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. The odds were against me. You get that one?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Odd numbers are.
Just a couple more here. I hired a landscape gardener, but he couldn't help. He said my lawn was portrait. You get it? Like the orientation of the paper? Yeah, that's a good one. No, that one's not that good. Why do bees stay in their beehives all winter?
Because?
Swarm. Swarm?
Yeah.
It's warm?
Yeah.
But swarm of bees?
It's not your best one, but it's not bad.
Well, it's not mine. Somebody else wrote
You
this.
chose them. You chose them.
How do you make the number 1 disappear?
How?
You just add a G and it's gone. All right. And then my son's 4th birthday was today, but when he woke up in the morning, I didn't recognize him at first. I've never seen him before because it was his 4th birthday.
Yeah, that's good.
And then I might as well try today's. This is live. This is live television. My dog Minton ate my racket and shuttlecock this morning. Badminton. That's great. I'm glad
that was a good one.
There it is. July 11th will be a day that is forever in my mind for that joke. My dog Minton, badminton. That's a great. Do you have any jokes you need to get off your chest, or is that going to be the way?
No, I think that's a good way to go with it.
That was solid. Well, it's been a great time getting to know you this year, seeing you with the Tampa Bay Rays and certainly the RiverDogs. I know the fans have enjoyed watching you play, and best of luck the rest of the way as I hope you guys make this second half run.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, before we let you go, after this podcast, one more dad joke for you. Why do Norwegian naval ships have barcodes on them? So they can Scandinavian. Oh, that was our episode with Noah Meyers. A great time hearing his story. Again, the RiverDogs trying to make a second half run. We'll have another interview on the 3Pete After Me podcast in a couple of weeks. Let us know on Facebook, X, or Instagram if you have anybody you definitely want to hear from. Always look forward to those interactions, and we'll talk to you soon.